It's still cozy soup weather for us here in the Pacific Northwest, and I've been trying to come up with soup recipes that are low carb, high in protein, and that my kids will still like because, like most kids, they don't really like soup. I nailed it with this Italian wedding soup recipe. It has over 40 grams of protein per serving. Let's start with the meatballs because Italian wedding soup is named that way because it's the perfect pairing between the tender meatballs and leafy greens. This is a half a pound of ground beef and a half a pound of Italian sausage in here. Since we're making meatballs, we need to use breadcrumbs. But we're also low carb, so we need to be mindful of that and use a low carb option. For that, I'm using a half of a cup of pork panko. Pork panko is just ground up pork rinds. They're 0 carb, high in protein, and they serve the same purpose as regular breadcrumbs would in this recipe. To help hold our meatballs together, you need an egg. Add in a 1/3 cup of grated Parmesan cheese. That also helps hold them together. Then 3 cloves of minced garlic, 2 tablespoons of finely chopped parsley, a teaspoon of dried oregano leaves, a teaspoon of salt, and a half a teaspoon of pepper. Then, either using your hands or a spoon, mix this all together until it's combined. I'm using a spoon because my hands have been so dry because of the cold, dry winter air. Every time I wash them, it just makes them worse. So that's why I'm not using my hands to mix this together. To help with that, I've been using lotion like crazy and trying to stay hydrated by drinking more water and adding element electrolytes to my water. Element electrolytes are the perfect hydration tool I need this winter to keep my cells to stay hydrated and my skin looking healthy. It has a science-backed electrolyte formula of 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. On top of that, I don't have to worry about wrecking my low-carb goals because these electrolytes don't have any sugar in them. They're sweetened with stevia instead. And they come in a bunch of fun flavors like orange, citrus, raspberry, watermelon, even chocolate. Right now, Element's offering a free sample pack with any order. It's a great way to try some of their flavors free before you decide which ones are your favorites. Get yours at drinkelement.com/ketofocus. This deal's only available through my link, and it's a great way to try Element risk-free because if you don't like it, just give it away to a friend that you think might like some electrolytes, and Element's going to refund your money, no questions asked. The meatballs in Italian wedding soup are smaller than traditional meatballs that you'd find in spaghetti because they need to be able to sit on a spoon and they need to go in your mouth in one bite. I use a teaspoon to scoop up about a heaping teaspoon worth of the mixture, and then I roll it around until it forms a ball that's 3/4 of an inch thick. This is going to make around 75 to 80 meatballs. It's going to take some time, but worth it. I need to sear these meatballs before they go into the soup, so pour in 3 tablespoons of avocado or olive oil into a Dutch oven and heat that to medium heat. When it's hot, then just add in some meatballs. You need to work in batches because you don't want them to brown on the outside. Adding too many of them is going to create steam, and so they won't brown. They're just going to steam and turn gray. Continue cooking them until all sides are browned. They don't necessarily have to be fully cooked on the inside. They just need to be seared on the outside because we will be adding our meatballs back into the soup and simmering in a broth. While those meatballs are cooking, I'm prepping my veggies. I'm adding carrot to the soup. I know it's higher in carbs, but I'm not afraid of carbs from carrot like some are. Carrots add flavor, fiber, and nutrients that you really can't get anywhere else. Then celery, slice up 3 stalks of celery for more flavor, and a half of a medium onion, chop that up too. I removed the meatballs from my pot, but that oil and those brown bits you want to keep in there. Don't wash your pot. Those brown bits have a ton of flavor trapped inside of them, and we're going to loosen it up once we add in some of our ingredients, and that will reincorporate that flavor into our soup. Add in all those chopped veggies into the pot and cook them until they're slightly tender, and then add in more garlic. This is 3 cloves of minced garlic. Then a half a teaspoon each of salt and pepper. Stir that in and cook it until it's fragrant. Now we add back in our meatballs and pour in 8 cups of chicken broth. I'm using homemade chicken broth, which adds the best flavor to soups, and it's really easy to make. Check out my website for the recipe. Bring that to a simmer over medium-high heat. Then instead of using orzo pasta, I'm keeping this low carb. So instead, I'm going to substitute with a lupini rice from Kaizen. This rice looks like orzo pasta when it's cooked, and it's made from the lupini bean instead of flour. So that keeps it very low in carbs. It has 6 grams of net carbs and 20 grams of protein per serving. Plus, it's gluten-free. I'm only using 1 cup of lupini rice here. Add that in, lower the heat, and let it simmer for about 6 to 8 minutes or until the rice is tender. To finish off the marriage in this soup, we need to add our leafy greens to pair with the meatballs. I'm using spinach. Add in 3 cups of baby spinach leaves. Remove the pot from the heat and stir in the spinach until it's wilted. Add in any extra salt and pepper if you think that it needs it, and now you're ready to serve. Add some grated Parmesan cheese, a little bit of parsley, and cozy up to this fantastic bowl of protein-packed soup. And maybe serve it with the best low-carb rolls that you've ever had. Just click right here for the recipe.